Right on, Chris. Buddy, welcome to the show, dude. I'm first and foremost, I'm grateful you're able to be on the show today. Give me your time, and I know you're busy with the album coming out, which we'll get into later, but I'm very, very stoked for you to come on the show today and talk to me about what you got going on and what you've done and what you're gonna do. So thank you very much, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And I think this is going to go quite well.
Awesome, man. Right on. So do you mind doing me a favor just so people can kind of get a bit of context on you and your upbringing and stuff like that? Take me through like your transition period leaving like in high school to like leaving high school and what that process was like for you.
Okay. So I think I've gone through a pretty unique experience.
Nice.
I mean, first of all, if you guys don't know me, I'm Chris Mackness, known as C Dot. That's my artist name. I'm 19 years old. So just recently out of high school, I'm actually not currently in school. And I would say the transition point, it was sort of like grade 12, a lot of people knew what they were doing, right?
Mhm.
Or at least they seem to know what they're doing, right? It seems like other people know what
Yeah,
they're doing,
everybody's got
but
it figured out.
right. But I was in the boat of I don't know why I would want to go to university or college. Like I don't know what I would take. And so I thought, why would I fall into the group of people who go just because, but they don't know why they're going? I sort of made a decision that if I'm going to go, I want to have a reason.
Yeah.
And at that point, when I was graduating, which was during COVID, and so we
Yeah.
didn't really have a graduation, it was kind of lame. And it was all online, so lots of depression and loneliness and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And so I was like, you know what? I could do grade 13, and then I would have a year to just experiment and sort of do my own thing, not have as much school because I can pick my classes. I wanted to take a writing class that I thought was interesting. It was on creative writing, and I figured that it might give me some opportunities. And so I stayed back for grade 13. Grade 13 passes along, and still I was basically in the same boat where I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm going for, if I'm going to university or college. And so I was like, I love music right now. I've been working on stuff. So what if I took another year and just worked to make some money to fund music? And then I can at least experiment with this when the risk is very low, when it's
Mm,
very low risk, very high reward.
that's smart.
I can experiment for a year. And the worst case scenario, and I thought that to myself, I thought this back when I was 16. I thought if everything goes wrong, let's say I'm 19 or 20 years old, and let's say everything that I do fails,
Mm,
hypothetically speaking,
yeah.
then I'm a 20-year-old in virtually no different position than someone who comes out of university having not known why they were there. And they're finished university at like 21, 22, or whatever, however old.
Yeah.
And they're coming out thinking, now what? Because they were just in the day-to-day routine of having been in college or university,
Right.
not necessarily knowing what that was building towards. So I thought of that and I was
I
like, I
like
don't want to
that.
get caught in the cycle of day to day, because in high school it's like, oh, I just need to get this assignment done for school, or oh, I just need to finish this workout for hockey because I grew up
Yeah.
playing hockey or whatever it was. But my thought was like, okay, my mind has always worked in the sense of how does what I'm doing today contribute to my ultimate overarching goal for my life?
Yeah.
And that's something that I've really, really struggled with, because finding direction and being very, very deliberate with what I'm doing with my life, it's something that I've honestly tried running away from a lot, and something that I've tried to hide from, because it's scary to commit to something, because then if you fully commit and it goes wrong, then you clearly have something that you would call failure. Now we can get
Sure.
into all psychological stuff about,
Yeah.
you don't have to view things as failures. You can view it as learning, but
Sure.
I'm just putting it very cut and dry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan Peterson, but what he would say is like, you need a clear, or he said something along the lines of, if you create a very clear goal, then that means that you create, or you define what failure is. Because if you make a
Mm,
clear goal and you don't live up to that, then that's failure. And so that's scary, because now you have to live up to that goal.
Right.
And so that's something that has always been sort of relatively foggy in my life, where
Hmm.
it's like I love the day to day and I love my routines and the things that I'm tackling today. But when I try to factor in where it's what is building towards, sometimes I get anxious and I try to run from it or hide from it. And that's where I think in most people's lives, this is just my assumption, where things like bad habits or escapism come in and stuff like that. So this is, yeah, it's pretty elaborate. I haven't really articulated this out loud too much before, but that's what's gone through my mind is I need sometimes I need help with direction and understanding how what I do today is
Hmm.
affecting my entire future. And so that's why I've worked with mentors and now I currently have a mentor and it's literally working to understand my own brain to see what works for me to grow because holding myself accountable is a lot more difficult than a deadline imposed on me by an external force holding me
Right.
accountable. So
Question
that was
for
a little
you.
bit of a rant, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's perfect. In that, what is the goal? Do you have one like related to that? Is it like by this end of this year, I need to make X amount of money through this avenue that is music? Or are you giving yourself a chance to develop it so that that goal kind of comes? Like, what does success look like for you right now in like that in this initial baseline start?
I think right now, what success looks like is essentially just growth into the unknown, which is
Mm,
very vague, which is not really a defined goal,
sure.
which is the problem.
Yeah.
But I think that stepping out of my comfort zone into the unknown, into uncertainty, is something that's absolutely necessary because it's terrifying. But if you're to ask me what you did, like what is my goal for the end of this year, for example,
Yeah.
it's sort of like I honestly I don't know exactly. And that's something that I've been really trying to pray about and ask God, like, God, what do you want me to do with my life? Like
Hmm.
what is your plan? And sometimes it's like I trust that if God lights the path, then I can just take steps in the light that God has, sort of lit up for me. Like
Sure.
there's a scripture that says um something along the lines of God lights up the steps of the righteous. And what I
Hmm.
picture is there's this dark forest and you have this lantern and this lantern is God leading
Hmm.
you, right? And so all you see is your next step and you trust that the path that you're on is one that God has put you on. And you trust that if I
Interesting.
just
Yeah.
keep walking with the light and I keep taking each step and, oh, I dodged that root there, I dodged this rock here, then if I continue on this path, well, then I trust that the creator of this path will lead me to something worthwhile, essentially. And
Mm-hmm.
that takes trust, which
Yes.
the people watching didn't hear. But before we started recording, we are talking a bit about trust and how it's difficult. And that's exactly what it is. It's difficult to trust something that you can't see,
Yeah.
right? But
That's fascinating.
yeah, it's sort of like I lean into this vagueness sometimes for a sense of comfort instead of
Yeah, I was gonna
keeping
say.
things cut and dry. Um,
I think too, Chris, I want to interject. I think I found myself being more like having these goals become more successful, or at least these outcomes, we'll call them. Because I think having so specific goals is great, but I think where we kind of do ourselves dirty this way is if you put yourself on a goal and you're like, I'm going to make X amount, and then you don't achieve it, it's like, well, there's almost a piece of identity in you that's lost when you don't achieve it. And then once you've kind of gone, or even worse, when you do achieve that goal and now you don't know, and there's, oh my God, what do I do? And then you were so attached to this thing that you almost don't know who you are. And it's very, very tricky to see, but what I've kind of noticed with people, and like I've changed my goal setting this way where it's I don't so much go, ooh, I want to win this or I want to make X amount by this. I look at it and go, okay, if that is my goal, all I need to do is work backwards and go, how does that look? Like,
Mm,
how do I break this down? Like, say you want to, like, I'm trying to think of a good example, but say you want to like make, as much as it's an external goal that you can't really control, but like, say I want to be like a top 100 podcast, right?
sure.
So that is a goal. But I know that if I go, okay, well, let's put that by next year, it's like, well, that doesn't really, well, what if I don't get it? Do I just stop trying to podcast? What if I do get it? Then do I stop?
Or what if I get to top 500? And that's
Yeah,
way further than I would have gotten if I didn't
right.
set the
So
100 goal.
how I do it, dude, is I look back and I'll go, okay, what steps do I need to implement in order to do this? Okay, well, I need to be consistent. So once a week, I need to have somebody on. And each episode, I need to try something different or do something or make a shift that allows me to change the direction I want to take the show. And then just like little things, whether it be like graphics or like merch or logos or like talking to more people or sharing more episodes or putting it on a different day of the week to see how it like gains traction in the algorithm. Like just stuff like that. That's like maybe like beef up the intro or download a new type of like audio for like the Spotify podcast. But doing stuff like that, just I found as long as I'm looking and going, well, what is that? What do the correct successful steps look like for you? Okay, well, I need to write once a day. Doesn't have to be good, but it's got to be 100 words. It's like, okay, I have to spend an hour like dedicated to like just listening to music as somebody who like isn't critical without a critical ear, right? Because then that allows you to enjoy it, and then
That's
spend
so
another
tough for me
hour,
to do.
right, yeah, I'm
Oh
sure, because
man.
I'll listen to shows twice, once for enjoyment and then once for like, what's this guest doing or what's this host doing that I really want to do or really don't like.
Right.
It's like turning off the critical ear, but giving yourself permission to do that, I think, is what makes the difference. So I think that's the biggest thing I found with goal setting, that actually allows you to get it. And whether you achieve it or not, it almost doesn't matter, because it allows you to like, now you've built the habits. It's all about building the habits to like eventually achieve it. And then in the process of it, you've already like, you just keep doing it, and then eventually you reach it. And it
It's
kind
almost,
of works out in weird ways.
yeah, I think it's almost like by the time you reach the goal, it should be such a normal thing
Yeah.
that it loses a lot of that, like, wow, I just achieved this.
No,
Because it's just
absolutely.
like you get to that point where it's like, oh, I'm just literally following my routine, and my routine happened to spark this result.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Right. And it allows you to like, you've already built the habits, and now it's just your shifted focus, and it just ends up working out better. And then on top of it, it's like, well, you meet all these cool people. You've we'll take the podcast for example, or we'll take your music career so far, where it's like, okay, you set out to do this one thing, but on the process or in the pathway of achieving this thing, you've made new friends, made new
oh yeah.
people, gone outside your comfort zone with like countless things, performed live in front of like hundreds of people, thousands of people, depending on wherever and what scheme, what space, met people you've never met before, had opportunities you'd never think of, learned more about yourself and other people than you have before, found out who your true friends are and who your true supporters are and stuff like that, learn new
Those are
instruments,
true.
so all these things. And it's like, well, I never set out to check all these boxes of, oh, I want to meet new people, I want to do this, that. All that stuff just kind of comes with it and comes with the territory. It's like when I started, I was like, oh man, I want better friends, better paying jobs. I want to learn more. And like, all this stuff. I want to have like subscribers on YouTube, all this stuff. And then now it's, oh crap, like that's actually what's happening. And it's weird to think, so it's really, really cool. And then people are like, hey, I can't wait to do the show. Or, hey, some so-and-so told me about this. And they're like, yo, Glenn, because it's just weird. It's weird to think that like all these little things that you don't plan in your goal setting end up happening as a byproduct of like you chasing it. And I think we got to focus on that more than focus on like, ooh, at the end of the year, I need to make 12 grand with like from just whatever. It's like, no, it's actually in the process of all this, you're learning so much about yourself. And it's just, I think that should be focused on more.
Well, do you mind if okay,
Go
we
for it.
maybe we should um segue into something else, but I want to add one thing that I learned recently about myself, and maybe it will be valuable to either you or somebody
Perfect.
that's listening.
Perfect. Yeah. And then we'll shift back.
Sure. So generally I have like daily checklists, right? Like I schedule out my weeks and I have, okay, Wednesday I'm doing this, Tuesday I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. I do that on my notes on my iPhone.
Mhm.
And for anybody who has an iPhone, you're probably even still familiar with this, even though you don't have an iPhone, Apple phone. You have the inferior kind, but
Call
it's
me
okay.
out in front of everybody. All right.
So there's like the little circle that you select it and it makes the green check mark. So if you make a checklist, you can just check stuff off and it gives you the green check mark. And my girlfriend and I created a shared note for both of our schedules so that we can see what we're doing on days to see where we can schedule things together and whatnot.
Oh, nice.
And she realized that whenever I finish something, instead of checking it off, I erase it.
Hmm.
And I do that because for me, my brain is go, go, go. And so if I see something, I view it as another burden on my brain. And it's like, I've
Uh,
already done this, so let me get rid of it. But talking to my mentor, I realized that by completely erasing the things that I achieve, I am doing the opposite of rewarding myself for positive behavior.
yeah.
Instead of like, if you even as something as simple as a dog, maybe it's a weird comparison, dog and human, but when you are teaching a dog or a kid or whatever to do something, you reward the positive behavior and you generally will punish the negative behavior. For me, it's like I'm punishing all the behavior because instead of giving myself the credit that I technically deserve for the things that I do, I just get it out of here, get it out of here.
Okay.
And so it's not even taking up any seconds of, wow, I just achieved this. It's just, okay, I'm done that. Now focus on the next problem that I need to solve. So it's just it's a cycle of just focusing on the next problem. And no wonder sometimes I can fall into what feels like a slump of being unproductive, where it's like I don't want to do something because the way that my subconscious mind is approaching this is it's just another problem.
Hmm.
It's not like, wow, I achieved this. Look at this. I'm actually proud of myself for doing this particular thing. It's now I just have another problem and I've done all this work on my album, but still I'm not done this one thing. And so instead of focusing on the 152 things that I have done,
Yeah.
it's the next thing that I haven't done.
I see.
So that's something that
Interesting.
I've learned. And I still haven't done this, but it's only been like a few days. But I want to make a list just of this album of every single thing that I have done.
Yeah.
And if I just make a list, it'll be like hundreds and hundreds of things. Then I'll be like, wow, okay, I actually did some stuff. And so I can feel proud of myself. I don't need to feel guilty that I haven't done more.
Right. I like that, dude. I like that. So when do you remember what was your first memory of like you had with music?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I never thought about this because usually I would say something like within the past few years, right? Because I've
Yeah,
only been making music like seriously for a few years now.
sure.
But my
Yeah.
first memory was in junior kindergarten.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You pulled something
Yeah.
out of me
Love
here.
it.
I was about 4 years old, and my class at school, we were gonna sing a song on the morning announcements at school, and the song was "It's a Wonderful World."
Yeah.
I forget who the original artist is, but our class had to sing that, and I was like front and center of my class singing on the announcements. And at that point in time, I think I was living with my grandparents. There was a whole situation about that when I was
Sure.
younger. I lived
Yeah,
with
we
my
don't have to get
grandparents a
into
lot.
that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, and I would come home from school and I would sing that because we were practicing it every day. And my grandma told me, "Oh my gosh, you have a wonderful voice." And I'll think to myself, what a
Nice.
wonderful world, right?
Yeah.
And so back then, like my teacher and my grandparents were like, "Oh, you have a great voice. You should sing." And then I went through like puberty and my voice was terrible.
Yeah.
And then after I just sort of picked things back up. And now
Nice.
I'm mostly rapping. I still sing, but I'm mostly
Yeah.
rapping. And I want to transition more into singing. but that's my first memory with music is
That's
singing
cool. I
"It's
like
a
that.
Wonderful World" with my class as a
Wow.
like 4-year-old.
Just started out performing, eh? Just started out performing at the front, eh? Oh,
Dude, I
that's
had
awesome,
no
dude.
shame as a kid. When I
Oh, that's
look at the
cool.
old photos, I was
Yeah.
just front and center.
Man, do you man, that's kind of cool. That's so like crazy. Like imagine your grandma would like me, ma would have thought, hey, no, we're not gonna do this. Or and she might have just or imagine if somebody else, so maybe not her, but somebody was just like, you sound like crap, and then imagine now, like you might not have like that could have just given you enough encouragement, even if you didn't think it at the time, but you're like, oh, I could do this. It's like,
Yeah, it
oh,
might
it's
have had an
actually
impact on
something.
my subconscious mind.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how much, but maybe not a lot, but I'm sure I'm sure it would have played if it was negative. Like I'm sure we would have seen a different outcome. But
Yeah, and I think it's crazy how much things add up when it comes to encouragement. Like to think that in my life, the amount of people that have encouraged me or that have helped me along the way, it takes so many people for one person to be like successful at something.
what's it say? It takes a village to raise a child.
That's like, okay, I don't have
Yeah.
a kid, but like I feel like that is
I have a
true.
dog.
Just
It's the
just for
same.
me. No, even
I
like, well, no, not for my dog. My dog, like,
actually like saying that it bugs like parents. So like it's not the same. I'm like, that's the same. But anyways, yeah,
no,
sorry.
I don't think it's the same. My
Oh, it's not
sister
the
has a
same.
kid. My sister has a kid, and
Yeah, not even close.
it's very different. Being an uncle, I mean, I only get to see him like, whatever, a couple times.
Yeah,
And
whenever you
so,
see him.
yeah, whenever I see him, it's like exciting and fun, but I'm not seeing him 24/7.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And how do you choose like how did you go about choosing the genre of music that like you wanted to get started in?
Well, I grew up listening to Eminem
Yeah.
and trying to like memorize Eminem songs. And that's basically how I learned to rap because I thought it was cool to rap. I thought it might like impress girls in elementary school back in the day, and it didn't. I was terrible.
He's like it
Um,
didn't.
and then I discovered NF. I don't know if you're familiar with NF. Um, if you've heard the song
No.
"Let You Down," feels
Yes.
like we're on the edge right now. I
Oh
wish that
yeah.
I could say I'm proud.
Yes.
I'm sorry that I let
Yeah.
you down.
Do some
But yeah,
virtual concerts, dude. Perform your album on Twitch.
dude, I'm actually like I'm doing the listening party over Discord, and I'll
Yeah.
probably end up going live on TikTok several times, just going through the
Go
whole
on
album.
Twitch.
Why Twitch specifically? Because it's for streaming.
Yeah. Tell people to go. Then it's just like, hey, this is it, and then put it in your social media, and then people show up. I know this might make a couple bucks. I'm just pushing a lot of people who do any form of creative content, long or short form, to do something on Twitch. Because I have a buddy and a couple friends who like two of them make my buddy makes like just shy of a living, and then
Really?
his friends, they're women. Um, like beautiful by the way, which is
That probably
great,
has
which
something
makes
to do
sense.
with it.
Yeah, but they're making like thousands of dollars. Like, and I mean like every like one stream. I remember my buddy was in when I showed up at his house and he's watching the stream because it was his friend and she was making like $1,100 for like just that
Doing what?
couple hour
Like
stream.
gaming?
Yeah. But
That's
like
crazy.
it's out there. Like the possibility is there. I don't think it'd be as easy for like you or me, but I do think it's out there. And I think, hey, man, if somebody's like, yo, this is great, or somebody just stumbles upon it, then, you never know. It's a different avenue and the algorithm's completely different. I think it'd be worth a shot. If not for
You
this
know
album,
what? Yeah.
not for this album, try it in the future because it might not be a
That's
part of
another
like
thing on my radar
your
now.
plan. So like for this album, but yeah, it's definitely something you should look into for next one.
Well, yeah, I can always adapt. Like I
Yeah,
could do something tomorrow that I haven't planned until tomorrow and
that's fair.
see how it goes.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm learning, right? So if I do something
Yeah,
that I learn isn't right, well, I wouldn't have known if I didn't try it.
right.
So
Yeah, so NF is that that's kind of what inspired the genre choice or
Well,
with the like early rapping with Eminem and stuff.
well, yeah, because like with Eminem, I was exposed to rap and I liked rap, but then NF sort of, I viewed it as NF gave me permission to make my own music
Ooh,
because I thought like if I was to ever make music, I would make music that didn't swear, that wasn't like, overtly sexual or
yeah,
super prideful and stuff like a lot of mainstream hip hop.
it's all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
It's,
wanted to make something like cinematic and interesting and introspective, psychological and spiritual.
mhm.
And NF was the first person that I was exposed to who had that. Doesn't swear in his music, talks about God, he's Christian, although it's not quite as Christian coming through the music now as it used to be. It
Mhm.
still comes through. Um, and so that sort of made me think, okay, if I was to ever make music, I would make music like that. And that's what sort of was the spark for me to start writing my own stuff, which I did for a few years, didn't release any of it because it was terrible. And then I just started recording on an iPhone and editing in iMovie. Like I would literally record into my microphone on my iPhone, put headphones on, listen to a beat from YouTube through my brother's iPad,
Jeez.
screen record the beat on my phone, bring it into iMovie, trim the audio clips of me recording myself, drag them into the project with my thumb, and manually line each of them up to be on beat.
Whoa.
And when I started doing ad libs, bro, and there's just like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, no, the yeahs are off beat. And so I would spend like a whole day, like 13 hours, just
What?
sitting on my phone, just editing. And I did 13 songs like that. They're still up. Like people can
Jeez.
watch
Yeah.
that stuff. I can link it
Wow.
in like the description of my music. And I generally do. It's like an old playlist of the stuff that I recorded on my phone. It's hilarious. But that's how I started before I got an actual microphone. And even
Yeah.
still, I'm still using a Blue Yeti, which to most people is like, bro, you can't use a USB microphone. You need an audio interface or whatever. And it's like, well, we're moving towards that, but it's
Yeah.
one
One
step
day
at a
at a time.
time.
Yeah.
And I'm milking it. I'm using every little bit that I can.
Dude, I think I have a buddy that we argue about this because he's in video and media production, but I go, dude, I think he puts way too much of a stress on like production quality. Whereas
So
I'm just like, if the quality of the content is high, then I don't think it makes as much of a difference. Don't get me wrong, if this was blurred and like, it was like popping every time and the mic was like you couldn't hear it, then it would be bad. But I think once you get to like a lower mid or even a middle end type microphone or a baseline microphone, I think those are good enough. And as long as you are and like you have a good like I've recorded videos with like my phone camera that have got thousands of views or like
yeah.
hundreds of downloads and stuff like that where I've just recorded through this. And it even stuttered once or twice because the Wi-Fi bandwidth wasn't good at the time where I was doing the show. So still got like couple hundred downloads and then a bunch of views. So I'm like, I don't think it makes much of a difference. People still listen
Well,
to it if it's good.
there's
So
two things that come to mind for that. First of all, you can hear me in both ears, right? I'm not just in your left ear.
yeah, I can hear you in both.
Okay, just because I've had problems on my YouTube in the past of only being in one ear, and so I always
Uh
put it into mono
yeah,
instead of
perfect.
stereo setting. But um, dude, I've had this debate with the guy who edited my music video. Speaking of my music video, about 70% of that is shot on an iPhone. I don't know if you could
No
tell.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. I was like, it looked the same. Like the camera looked the same. I was like, okay, he used the same camera for the majority of it, but I didn't know iPhone. Huh.
Could
Wow.
you tell that there was a few different things involved?
No,
Oh, well,
no,
originally you were going like this. You were like,
no, I couldn't.
yeah, that was a whole hassle.
I knew
But
you did because it just with some of the angles, I was like, okay. So it's kind of like I was looking at it like, ooh, how did he shoot this? So yeah, I knew you used more than one, but I was like, I couldn't really tell you did, if that makes sense.
okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, man, I could get into the whole behind the scenes, which maybe not. fit for this particular interview. I'll probably get into that in the live listening party when I'm actually on with the
Nice.
producer and the editor, and hopefully the guy who filmed it is going to be on there. But dude, I've had this debate with the editor because he's very much of the mindset of high quality, and you gotta like, elevate and elevate and elevate because you're competing against like people in the industry who have all these resources. And so if you're competing, right, if I'm competing technically with NF
Essentially, yeah.
who has high production quality, well then why would somebody choose to listen to me instead of him? It's like, well, I don't view it like that. It's not me or him, it's they listen to him and they say, oh, who's this other guy who's up and coming? I want to follow his journey as well. It's not
Yeah.
either or, right? I
People
don't
think
view
if you're
music as
choosing one,
competition.
yeah, no, you can't.
Like I can listen to 10 different artists or 50 different artists or 100 different artists. It's not like, oh, because I listen to Ed Sheeran, I'm not going to listen to Eminem.
Yeah, no, it's not. You're not taking away from one by listening to another.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
to an extent, my thought is like, where can I find the balance the most between high production quality
yeah.
with convenience? And where does the convenience, where is it so convenient that there's no production quality? So that's unacceptable versus where is it such high production quality that is just completely inconvenient and it
Hmm.
doesn't really fit into my lifestyle. And every single piece of content need to get a camera out and then upload it to the computer and then edit it on the computer. It's like I would rather just pull out my phone, edit it on CapCut in the app, and upload it from my phone
By the
or
way,
airdrop
great
it to my
app.
computer.
Yeah,
Yeah, CapCut and VN are the two main
yeah.
editing apps that I use on my phone. And like a bunch of stuff, all my social media content is edited on my phone. The opening and closing of that music video, like the text on screen and the audio behind it, I did that on my phone and I just sent it to myself.
No kidding.
Like the video itself is
Oh,
edited
that's
on a
cool.
computer,
Yeah.
but parts of different segments are edited on my phone and I
Oh,
uploaded it to my
sick.
computer,
Yeah,
right? So it's like all different things, and I found what's most convenient. I still need to obviously up the quality, and I've learned stuff about, the quality that you can upload to Instagram. If you upload a 4K file to Instagram, it doesn't process it right and it compresses it. So what
yeah.
I found is my friend said 720, but I found that 1080p looks the best and
Yeah.
compresses not too much. So I think
Hmm.
1080p is the right balance. But I used to upload 4K stuff and it was just getting compressed and not
Ooh,
looking too good.
this stuff, dude.
So,
Interesting. I did also. I thought I apologize because I should have prefaced with the point of higher quality not being as important for production. I do think it's different with music than it is with podcasting.
well, yeah, podcasting is very like raw.
Yeah, I do think I'm like looking at your music video and I've seen other music videos that are like not well done or like similar like maybe style or not even style, sorry, but you can same idea, right? Like it's more like the artist performing during the video, right? And a lot of just different takes at that. So
Right.
it's similar format, I guess, similar sort of, right? And then they don't have it, like it doesn't look as good, it doesn't flow, it's choppy, their edits aren't good, the music doesn't line up, like the audio, so like I can
Oh,
tell.
dude, when something doesn't, the lip syncing doesn't line up, oh my goodness, bro,
Yeah.
it drives me crazy.
Now, are you like speaking the words as you lip sync, or are you just like opening your mouth? Because it sounds like you're clearly enunciating the words.
Do you mean in the music video?
Yeah.
So it sounds or it looks like?
It looks like you're singing the song. Like it's spot on, dude. So when you said lip sync, I was like, no. That's why
Okay,
I was
well,
like, you're speaking. Like words are coming from your mouth.
yes. Okay. And this is something that I do. Like,
I'm
for
curious.
example, if I look at, there's a few friends I know who shall be nameless, a few
Yeah.
artist friends that behind the scenes, like I filmed some content for friends,
Yeah.
and they sort of just mumble it and whisper and exaggerate the mouth movements.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that Hobson does that too. And the
Yeah.
reason for that is,
That
at
makes
least from
sense.
what I've gathered, is because then you can focus more on the facial performance without getting like all sweaty and
Yeah.
stuff. For
Interesting.
me, bro, you see in that video, bro, that vein is popping out of my
Dude, it's
forehead.
going. Yeah. It's like,
That vein,
Yeah, yeah,
that vein
it's
is
right
right on my
there.
forehead
Yeah,
because I was sitting there staring at the camera
yeah,
saying, written beside your name, aim in a fire way, there was a higher way. Somebody died to save if we align in
yeah.
faith and we desire. And I was just getting out of breath. And there's like maybe a few words in the whole recording of the music video where I just took a breath but kept moving my mouth. But
Wow.
maybe a few words.
That's a
But
skill in
other
and
than
of
that,
itself.
what's that?
That's a skill in and of itself, Chris. That's
Well,
crazy.
I
I'm like,
mean,
oh man, that's weird. What? That's cool. That's
how is that
cool, dude.
weird?
That's cool. That's like a weird skill, man. I'm like, because I'm trying to think of how I'm doing it. I'm like, I don't think I have to do one or the other, but the fact that you can like separate the two. I
Wait,
mean
say that
weird
one
in a
more time.
I mean weird with a positive connotation behind it, by the way. But
No, I know that.
I just was saying it. I'm like, it's just weird to me that you can like separate one and separate the other. Like I can't do one without doing the other.
Oh,
Like
like
I
you
have to
can't.
breathe or like articulate with my mouth. I can't
Well,
think of how to do both, but you can. That's
the
crazy.
way that I do that, and I can actually share this with you, is I talk with an inhale.
Oh,
So if you've ever if you've ever just mumbled lyrics to yourself for a song, like for example, what I was just doing from my song, it goes, written beside your name, aiming at fire, wait, there was a higher way, somebody died to save. If I need to take a breath in the middle of that,
yeah.
then it becomes written beside your name, aiming at fire, wait, there was a higher way, somebody died to save. Find the faith and
Oh,
we
okay.
desire change. It's sort of like I exaggerated it
So
there,
you can
but it's
still
sort of like, you know, when you can sort of, you
uh,
can go like, written beside your name, aiming at fire, wait, there was a higher way, somebody died to save. If we align in
yeah.
faith and we desire change. Right? Like you can sort of do it like that. It sounds really weird, but it looks normal.
Interesting.
So
Dude,
that's
why
how I did it.
yeah, that's a really cool skill. I'm gonna cut that as like how to properly lip sync because that's a cool trick. Like I think that's yeah, especially like I
I
don't
don't
think
know anything about it. I just did it.
yeah, but it looks like I'm like, geez, I because I couldn't piece it together. I was like, this is phenomenal. I just thought it was really well done, the video. Because you sent me it, right? So I was like, oh, I was watching it before this and when you sent it, like I've seen it a couple times. I'm like, this is like really well done. And I was looking to like half enjoy, and then I watched it again to like, well, first to just enjoy it objectively, second to like look at it with like, ooh, how is he doing this? Like, can I notice if there's any like intricacies of like criticism? And then the third was like, I want to like be entertained. And then I was like, whoa, this is wild. So it was really well done, man. I think especially for what like baffles my mind too is that you're 19.
I am 19.
Like that blows my mind because I think just the way you have like your finger on the pulse with all this stuff is just it's very, very impressive. And I can't wait to see like you're only what, a couple years in, right?
I've only been
One,
seriously making music for maybe 2 years.
yeah, so 1 or 2 years in, a couple years in, and I think it's going to be hilarious to see the growth in like the next 3 to 5
I love
even.
that word choice. I love that word choice. I
Like
appreciate that, bro.
yeah, dude,
Honestly.
you're very welcome, Chris. I mean it. I think it'll be very, very cool to see, and I just cannot wait. I cannot wait for that. So I'm curious, when you perform live, first and foremost, how many times have you performed live? Have you performed live, would you say?
Um, so I did a talent show at school
Hmm?
when I ended up staying back for grade 13. That was in front of a few hundred people. I just did one song. Um, the reason that I'm proud of that performance is because there was no performance track at all. It was just the instrumental, and it was 3.5 minutes. And
Oh
if I
wow.
messed up one syllable, because
Yeah.
I break my songs down into syllables, right? It's not just the words,
Yep.
because I deliver it in syllables. So if one word is 3 syllables, I need to nail each syllable. Because
Hmm.
if I miss a syllable, then
You're like a
it
beat
gets me
behind.
off balance,
Yeah.
right? And if I do too many syllables, like for example, I write in a way where I try to write in a way where I can perform the song. So I have optional lyrics. So
Hmm.
filler words that when it's in the recorded version, it sounds like a long, elongated flow. But when I perform it, I can just take out the word it or the,
Hmm.
and that gives me room for a breath so I can still perform it live. If I miss that beat of that breath, I plan it so that I have just enough room to breathe.
Oh,
between
okay,
segments of
interesting.
breaths. Generally,
Yeah.
every song's a bit different, but in that song specifically, there's like very specific times where I can breathe. And if I missed one of those, I'm gassed.
Jeez, interesting.
So that one I did a 3.5 minutes all the way through. And I did make one mistake, but I
Hmm.
caught it on the next
Let's
syllable.
go. Let's
So
go.
like my heart dropped and I'm looking out at these people. My heart dropped. I said the word like it instead of the or something. And it like threw me off for a millisecond, but I caught
Yeah.
it.
Let's
And I
go.
could pinpoint that in
Professional.
the recording.
Yeah.
But so that was my first technical performance. And then I've done like my sister's engagement party. I performed at a wedding, my best friend's sister's wedding. Just recently, I got flown out to Ohio
That's cool. Yeah.
and with a bunch of friends. You might have seen some of the clips if
Yeah.
you looked at my Instagram.
Yeah.
And that was in front of a crowd there. It was like sort of like a Christian revival festival. And I
Yeah,
had a
that
full
looks
set
sick.
there. So that was
Oh
like 20
wow.
minutes. So I did 4 songs and then we also did a collab song.
Oh,
So
sick.
that was great. And actually, speaking of which, the full video of my performance is dropping on August 5th. I have the premiere already set up on my YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see, if you go to my YouTube, you see the premiere, C dot full live performance,
Yeah.
Ohio, and then the date. So that's dropping on August 5th, and that's the full unedited
I think I already
19
have the
minutes.
reminder for it too.
Oh,
So
awesome.
yeah, because I like those performances are sick. Like I just get a kick out of them. But you would say like, would you say like close to 10? Then like maybe an hour, maybe
More than five,
five
less
less
than
than 10.
10 in
Okay.
total, probably.
So because my question is like, do you have any like things you do to prepare before you go out on stage, or like rituals, or like 50 push-ups right before you go out, a couple of shotgun, a couple of Red Bulls? Like how does that work? How do you get in the
um,
how do you get locked in?
so I think for me, it's interesting because I grew up playing hockey
Hmm.
and I was a goalie in hockey. And that was so ritualistic. Like if I
Yeah.
didn't put my socks on the right way, I was going to have a bad game, right? Like it was like everything to a T. I
Hmm.
have to drink my water bottle this way. I hit this post, hit this post, hit this post again, C cut out, stop, boom. Like I have to do everything exactly. And I remember all of those things.
Mm.
For music, I was trying to develop like essentially what would be the equivalent of a pregame routine. And what I realized playing hockey is that preparation is so that you get in the present moment so that you're ready. And it's so simple. And I
Mm.
used to overcomplicate it like, oh, I'm only prepared if I do this stuff. But what you realize is sometimes you need more to prepare and sometimes you need less. If you're already in the vibe, then you're
Mm.
set. But if you need something to help get you in the vibe, then you need something to get you in the vibe. So for me, I think it's mostly just mental and rehearsing and visualizing. So in the case of the Ohio performance, I saw what the venue would look like about, I don't know, a couple months in advance. So I
Oh,
already started visualizing,
oh, that's
but it
cool.
wasn't until the night before that I was actually there on the stage before everything was set up, but I was on the stage and I could see where the people were going to be. And I made sure that I was there at the same time of day that I would be the next night because my
Ooh,
set would be just at like sunset,
yeah.
right when the sun was going down. And I wanted to see what the lighting would look like and see how it would reflect on everything so I could have a clear visual in my mind so I could visualize it exactly how it would be.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
so that night, and actually, if you were to ask some of the guys that were there, right, because there was a few other Christian artists, all from all over the place, from California, Florida,
Oh,
Alabama,
wow.
Ohio, I think Texas, um, and we were all out there, and they were all talking off to the side, and they had already done their prep, and I was there with my little Bluetooth speaker, sitting on the stage, playing the songs that I was going to be performing and rapping along to them.
Mm.
And my set ended up changing the day of, but I like went all in, jumping up and down. There's nobody in the crowd, right? It's
Yeah.
just empty, but I was jumping up and down, pretending that I had a microphone in my hand, stepping off the stage, pretending that I'm getting involved in all this stuff, which it never goes exactly as planned the
Never,
day
yeah.
of, but to have those visuals in my mind, then it allowed me to be more free. So I didn't have to worry so much about the unpredictability. because there's already enough unpredictability when you're doing a live performance. Someone could
Hmm.
shout something out and distract you. Something could go wrong with the performance track, right? It could get paused in the middle. Someone could play the wrong song, whatever, right? And there's enough of that to already worry about. So as long as I do everything that's in my control, I think that's what gets me into the zone, and just realizing like, hey, I wrote this stuff for a reason. And just because I've heard this song a million times, because I wrote it and recorded it and edited it and
Hmm.
got it mixed and mastered, and now I'm rehearsing it, that doesn't take away the impact of the fact that some people are going to be hearing this song for the first time. And so I need to deliver this with the original emotion that I wrote it with. And so that's a fun
Yeah, that's
experience,
cool.
actually, to get
Yeah.
back into that mindset, because like, wow, I there was a time where I genuinely felt exactly like this and I wanted to express this. And now maybe I've grown since then, but even still I can tap back into that, because it's most of my stuff is it's feelings that everybody can relate to regardless of where you're at in your life.
Damn, that's so cool. Do you can you take me through like tell me about your album? Like take me through the process of it, like what you went through from the beginning to kind of how you decide like picking the songs and releasing it. Whatever you want to share that's not yeah, that you'd
Gonna
like.
take 2 hours. um well, I mean, the album itself took like 2 years. I wrote, so okay, I'll try to give like sort of a checkpointed
Yeah,
breakdown
sure.
roughly. So it started off with just songs that I was writing,
Yeah.
and I didn't really have a goal for them. I was just venting and trying to put it into song format. And so that was when I was just really starting to get confident with writing.
Hmm.
Excuse me. And so there's several songs on the album, like Chronicle, You Broke Me, what else? Let's Be More. Those three songs I wrote like 2 years ago, and Dichotomy I started like a year and a half ago. So the song with the music video, I like finished writing that probably over a year ago. I
Oh
made a few
wow.
tweaks, but that's been in my brain for like a year and a half. And the video concept, like we filmed that last November.
Oh geez.
So there's been a lot of work, and it's been a process. Most of the slowness of it has been due to my own perfectionism and
Hmm.
OCD and anxiety, which has driven uh, several of the people that I've worked with crazy. We call it C dot fatigue
See
from
dot
working with me
fatigue.
too much. I'm not proud of it, but at least I can not take myself seriously and laugh at it a little bit because things
Yeah.
are done now. Um, but yeah, so a few of the songs I just originally wrote, they had really no home. I actually had a folder on my phone at one point that said songs with no home, because I didn't know if it was going to be on an album or like a few songs together or singles or whatever. And then it really got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to make an album, and I want to put sort of all this stuff together and encapsulate me in an album. And originally the title of it was called In the Mix. And some of the files, like the recording files, are titled the song name bracket In the Mix, because that was the original song title
Yeah.
or album title. And I guess as time went on, I started recording stuff, and everything got done at a different time. Like a few songs got lumped together, but I've been consistently working on this album about every day for the past year.
Wow. Hell
And there's
yeah.
been something, whether it's been writing, revising, recording, editing, because the way that the whole process goes is with every single song, I have to find a beat, make sure that it's fitting. Now I know more about the legal side, so now I make sure that I'm legally good before I start. In the
Ooh, yeah.
past, in the past, I've got caught up where I write something and I'm like, man, this producer's charging several $100s for me to use this, and they're not even offering 100% exclusive rights. So why am I going to invest all the time that it takes to make a song if I can't even own it? So I'll just
Yeah.
find another beat. And now I'm starting to work with producers more, which makes things a lot better, because then we can just discuss what the situation is going to be.
That's easier.
And then I don't need to worry about an automated email system for a
Yeah.
producer. So the way that the whole process goes with every song is I'll find a beat and I'll write to that beat. some people write lyrics and then find an instrumental that fits it. I always write to the instrumental. So I'll write the song. That could take anywhere from a week to, in some cases, 6 months. Dichotomy took me like a year to write. The
Yeah.
Cry took me 6 months to write because I got most of it written, but I couldn't figure out how to end it. So I just sort of sat on it and came back to it every once in a while. And so that's just the writing.
Hmm.
And then from the writing, there's the revisions, which is okay, how do I edit this to make sure that when I record it, it sounds as good as it can? So
Hmm.
can I write it in a different way? Can I add a breath here? Can I change some of the wording? Can I add a more visual word choice? Or yeah, like stuff that'll paint more of a picture? Or is there a word that I could use that's a synonym that describes it better? Or can I adjust this rhyme scheme so that it flows better, right? All this stuff. So that's the revision stage. And then there's the recording stage. And generally, when I record, I'll record a bunch of different takes and then I'll just go back in the editing and go back through them. And then once I record everything that I want, I'll go in and I'll edit every clip. So I'll drag out all the dead
Yeah.
silence before and after. Most of the time I'll fade out every single breath,
Hmm.
and then I'll go through the main vocals and make sure that if I'm doing hidden cuts between takes, that they seamlessly blend into one another.
Oh,
So I'll
cool.
fade out of one and fade into the next. Sometimes I'll write it in a way where I can do it in one take. And sometimes even when I write it where I can do it in one take, sometimes the delivery suffers a bit. So I break it up. And sometimes there's just an effect when you break stuff up. If you do like line by line and you break it up, it has a different impact because you don't get a breath in the middle of it and you
Hmm.
can overlap it slightly. So I do that. I edit every single layer, main vocals, chorus, ad libs, stabs, backing, any humming or harmony stuff. So I'll go through the whole project, clean it up, make it as organized as possible, break it up into the sections.
Yeah.
And then if I'm going to mix it, then I'll go through that mixing process, which is a nightmare when it comes to me because I'm a perfectionist and it sometimes I have like 16 drafts of a song.
Yeah.
Like You Broke Me, that song on my album, I I want to post like a behind the scenes thing and show how many tracks I have. There's 26
Yeah.
audio tracks that I broke up so that every little 5 seconds has a different
Jeez.
mix on it
Yeah.
because it just wasn't sounding how I wanted it to sound. So then there's the mixing process, which either I'll do or I'll get somebody else to do, like an engineer, and I'll hop on a call with them on Discord while we work on that so I can see what they're doing and tell them how I want it to be done. And then there's the mastering process, which is relatively quick, and I'm not too involved in that mastering process.
Mm.
So that's for all of the songs, and then that's not including like the fact that I had to do cover art, the music video, the promo, all the filming for the
Jeez.
promo, all the
Yeah.
synced lyrics for the promo, choosing fonts, all this type of stuff. Um, so that was the case for all of the songs. For 12 songs, there's 12 songs on the album. Finding the order took, man, I spent hours and hours over probably weeks or months trying to figure out the order, listening to it in different orders, trying to see what fit best. And then I had an order, but then I finally did the final listen in the car, and I was like, man, this is too long and it feels too dragged out. So I removed a song, and then I went to upload the album, and I had 12 songs, except one of the songs was already released by my friend because it was a collab on his album.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that our distributor that we use doesn't allow you to release the same song under two different artists. So literally like 2 weeks before the release, this is like a week and a half ago, I released the album, I go to sleep, and usually it takes like 3 to 4 weeks to process. And I was doing it 2 weeks in advance. So I'm cutting it close. And I wake up and it says, there's an error with your release. You need to abort the entire thing and restart.
Ah,
And for anybody who knows, you have to
bruh.
go through cover art, file, the timestamp for the preview clip that you want, any credits, who's on the song, right? Like there's all different things you have to select for each one. So I
Yeah, it's a
redid
thing.
all of that
Yeah.
and then I uploaded it and then it worked. But dude, the anxiety, I'm sorry if I'm like instilling anxiety,
No, not
but
at all. It's
this is
hilarious.
like a glimpse into my
Yeah.
mind. Um, so that stressed me out quite a bit. And yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just promo. And just earlier today, in between my previous interview and this one, there was I want to do some open verse challenges. So I had to
Nice.
reopen the files, which are unmastered.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So I had to reopen like the actual projects of the songs, which are unmastered. So they don't quite sound as crisp as the final versions. And I had to go in and mute all the vocals during the verses and figure out what timestamps I wanted, because some songs have like a bridge before the chorus. I'm like, man, if I do a 1 minute open verse challenge, that's a lot that somebody has to write for an open verse challenge.
Yeah.
So what if I just include the little bridge into it and the little bridge out of it so that the open verse challenge is a little bit shorter?
Oh, nice.
So then I had to figure out that, and I did that for 3 songs. So I just got the audio files today. After I hop off here, I'll probably make sure that my lighting's good, and then I'll probably record just on my phone the open verse challenges, just pretending to be listening along
Yeah.
to the imaginary verse that's there. But yeah, I mean, that's realistically, that's just a glimpse. Like the amount of nights that I was on calls with engineers and other artists and stuff working on stuff is unbelievable. And that's why during the listening party, I want to have those people on. I hope everybody can join. I know not everybody's going to be able to make it, but if I can even just have like, one engineer, one producer, and maybe the editor, there's so many stories. Like the amount of late nights staying up till 3 a.m., 5 a.m. There's full nights stayed up all night
Yeah.
working on this. And, I hope that that comes across. Obviously, it's not completely professional studio quality
Hmm.
because I'm doing it in my grandparents' basement, essentially.
Yeah.
But I
But
think
you
for
made
the
the most of
research,
it. So,
exactly. And that's
yeah.
my goal is it's like someone might use the excuse of, oh, all I have is a USB microphone, so how can I do anything?
At
Or
least
all I
you have
have
a
is a
USB
phone.
mic.
Exactly. And so
No,
I'm like,
excuses are results. You don't get both.
exactly. And so I'm like, well, I have an iPhone. I have this. I could buy like a stabilization gimbal for my phone to film a video. And now I learned that probably in the future for an official music video, I'm not going to use a phone in the future because there was a
Yeah.
bunch of problems that came with that. But and maybe I can get into that another time. But you know, you got to learn somehow.
How should people listen to this album? Like, what's the best way to consume it where they can like really understand the story, connect with it the best way possible?
I think the way that I intended this was to genuinely be listened to, not just heard.
Hmm.
Every song, the way that I write is I write so that every lyric has meaning. And if someone just hears it, they might be like, oh, this is a catchy chorus or something. And that's fine. You're going to listen however you want. But the way that I intended this is I think it fits best as like late night car ride. You're actually able to pay attention. Or I honestly, I like to make music for headphones because it's a very intimate listening experience
Hmm.
where you can just hear it and you're zoned out of anything else around you. If you can
Yeah.
close your eyes and put headphones on and listen, that's how I would really intend it, because that's immersive and I want this to have an impact. And if there's distractions in the way, then all those distractions are getting in the way of the impact. So I would say like something like a late night car ride, just somewhere where you can actually give it your attention. Because if someone just hears my music without being able to give it their full undivided attention, it's just music.
Hmm.
But if you really listen, that's when it becomes more than music. And that's what
Totally.
my slogan is, that's what my brand is. And I want this stuff to have a genuine impact on the souls of listeners. And I think if you really listen, there's some songs that will give people chills. Like when I showed some of my friends, even the Dichotomy music video, I showed it to a friend just over FaceTime. He's like, bro, I got chills.
Yeah.
And
No, it was powerful.
for yeah, and for like another way, people have cried for the song Let It Out. That's with my girlfriend. I wrote that as a guide to express emotion because I was completely numb for years. And when I first experienced the sensation of emotion in my body, I was like, man, I want to remember what this feels like because I'm going to go numb again tomorrow. So I
Mm.
wrote a song about feeling emotions and basically encouraging me to let out my own emotions. And
Oh,
it's called
cool.
Let It Out.
Hmm.
And that song, man, like when I was in Ohio with my friend Logan, we were in the car and I played that song. He got chills like 5 times. Like he was shaking. Like as he was driving, he's like, "Bro, you just got me again. What the heck?" And it's like that's the type of music that I want to make. And it does call for participation from the listener.
Hmm.
It's not like, oh, let me just put this in the background and feel the beat. I don't really make music like that. I try to make it so that even if you do listen like that, you can still enjoy it. Try to make music
Yeah.
with depth, where even if you just listen for the vibe of it, you can enjoy it. Or if you just listen to like the flows, you can appreciate it and be like, oh wow, he actually thought this through. And if you listen to the lyrics, you can be like, oh, he's actually saying something. But then if you go really deep and be like, okay, he's basically doing a character study of himself, trying
Oh,
to
interesting.
understand the way his brain works. How do I relate to this? And can I pull anything out of this that maybe I struggle with, that he's learned or that he's expressing, or even just a feeling that he meaning me, that
Hmm.
I've been able to tap into, that I can encourage somebody else to feel. Because I think in our world today, a lot of us, myself included, we just numb stuff out
Yeah.
and we are very easily distracted. And so sometimes it can take a song to really spark a deep emotion to come out of us that we've been suppressing for so long. And if I can do that, then I think I've achieved my goal. If I can spark that, and if God can use it to really impact someone's life, maybe someone went through something when they were younger, traumatic experience that
Yeah.
they've suppressed, and it's led to their subconscious mind viewing the world in some type of way. But then by sparking this emotion, they feel that, and all that stuff comes to the surface. And then they're sort of encouraged or pushed to address that.
Yeah.
Well, then it was the first spark that caused a chain reaction and healing in that person's life.
Interesting. That's cool.
So that's the type of
Yeah.
music that I try to make. And it's tough with this particular album. And the only reason I say that is because some of the songs I wrote years ago when I wasn't as aware as I am now.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But going forward, there's a lot more of that stuff coming.
Interesting. Nice. Dude, I want to jump to this as like the last like thing because I think what you touched on was amazing. But and being like numb to stuff and like forcing ourselves to almost like I want to touch on that with being numb to things in today's world, just with the amount of like negativity that there is out there.
Mm,
How do you deal with haters? Because people don't know we were talking a bit about this, and I kind of wanted to, I cut us off because I wanted to bring this up on the show. And
right.
I feel that's kind of like you mentioned it perfectly with like numbing ourselves to like kind of what the world with how everything is. Um, how do you deal with haters? Like, how do you go about like dealing with that? And what I'm mainly asking is, how do you give, because I'm sure you see like comments, and it's like I can show you comments later that are just like they're just negative, and you're
Yeah.
just kind of like
Yeah.
it's easy to almost brush those off. But how do you decide what's the difference between just a negative hate comment or what the different, like how do you give a comment validity that you're like, oh,
It's a
okay, I
great
maybe
question.
should make this adjustment? What gives validity to like a comment on something?
Dude, that's a great question. I literally just had this conversation with my girlfriend
Nice.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Um, oh, man, I want to tell a story about this, but it's pretty personal.
Mm,
I really want to, but I don't want to throw a particular group of people under the bus because that's not my intention. But you
yeah.
know what? Okay.
Be objective as best as you can about it. And that's
Okay.
kind of, yeah.
Okay, this is fine. Okay, I can give a more objective view. I don't need to
Yeah.
state this out of the emotion that I originally felt.
Yeah. That's the key I find for doing stuff like that.
So, this is something that happened yesterday.
Oh, recent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Fair
it's
enough.
directly in relation to the album.
That's why
So
it's
that
tough to, okay.
yeah, so this is a vulnerable personal thing, I guess. But basically, yesterday I wanted to show my family the music video.
Mm,
So I pulled it up on the TV. I got everything set up. Everybody comes in the living room, and I hit play, and my family watches through the music video, and it's over. And I slowly turn around, and everybody's just sort of silent. And I'm like, does anybody have any feedback?
Yeah, like react.
Yeah. And my mom just was like, oh, well, I heard this line. And she referenced like one line in the song. And I was like, well, that's good feedback. You heard a line.
Yeah. You
And so
guys
I'm just,
suck.
and I'm like, what the heck? And I need to realize like
That's frustrating.
the demographic that I'm targeting is not my family demographic.
No, but I
Like,
feel you're kind of going at it like I want like, hey, I'm proud of this thing I worked for years on and
I just
this
wanted to
thing that I'm
share it. I don't
doing.
care
I
if
just
they
want to
get
share it with
the,
you.
yeah, I don't care
Yeah.
if they give like, oh, wow, I really like the way that this happened. It's like just saying, like, wow, that's a lot of work. Good job for finishing that.
Yeah. I should be like, dude, what went into filming that? Like just zero interest, eh?
It was literally like no response. And I was like, it felt like when I was a kid,
That's
and
exhausting.
it's like, it is a pretty vulnerable thing to say, but it felt like when I was a kid and somebody would just look at me like, what's wrong with you? You
Except
know
it's
that
coming from
feeling?
your family.
Yeah.
Those worst.
And like my family's usually not like that. And
Yeah.
so I
Damn,
realized
man.
like they didn't understand a word that I said because it's fast rap
Yeah.
and they're not attuned to that. So I understand that.
Mhm.
And right, I can give that the benefit of the doubt. But I was like there, and one of the people in particular, I'm not going to mention anyone in particular,
Sure, don't.
but
Yeah, please.
like someone was like, why do you rap so fast? Like if you're wanting to grow and build an audience, then like don't you want people to understand what you're saying? And I'm like, that's what rap music is. Like people who listen to rap music understand rap music. Like I don't
Oh yeah,
know,
I understood.
like if someone hears that stuff, then they can pick out the words and they can pick up on the rhyme schemes and the different flows and all that
Yeah.
type of stuff. And so I guess it was just like the worst audience to put it in front of. And dude,
Yeah.
after that, that was just the music video. So I was like, now I felt like my pride was just shattered. So I'm like, okay, well,
Oh,
maybe I can play another song that's slower that they'll understand.
you just kept
Again,
pushing it,
not
eh?
their vibe. And then the speakers, the TV speakers are like these terrible low ends,
Yeah, so they
like
don't do the
just,
music justice at all.
yeah. And like we mixed it for car speakers and headphones. And
Yeah,
these speakers,
as
like
you
the
would.
high end got all muffled. And when you turn it up, it just gets distorted. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, now
It
I have to
makes
turn it
your shit
down.
sound bad, even though it
Yeah.
wasn't.
And so then I'm like, man, it wasn't this bad. Like, am I going crazy? And there's no reaction. So then I got out my Bluetooth speaker and I play it off of there, just placing it on the floor. And I played a couple more songs. And the low end just wasn't coming through. And it just felt like vocals layered on top of an instrumental, but it didn't feel cohesive. I'm like, this isn't how this is not how it sounds. Like, this sounds so flat right now. I
Yeah.
felt crazy, bro. And it was just dead silence the whole time. One of the people, who shall be nameless, it looked like they fell asleep. And I'm like, man, how do I go from the response that I'm getting for promo, like on TikTok, there's people counting down the days saying, like, bro, I'm so excited,
Yeah.
to showing my own family and there's zero response.
It's a lack of understanding. Like 100%. That's man, that's I'm sorry to hear that, dude. That's kind of frustrating. I could see how it's
Well,
like tricky to look objectively. I see why you're like hesitant at the beginning to share that.
well, yeah, because I was pretty off put by that. And I was
Yeah,
really
that
frustrated
close to
because
the
I'm
date
like,
too.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's been all positive feedback. And then it's like just no feedback at all or negative feedback. And I just felt like that weird, awkward face turning red,
Yeah.
like I don't want to be here, what's going on right now. And then I ended up spending the day with my girlfriend yesterday and we talked about it. And she's like, Chris, you have to realize, like, first of all, like they're not your target audience. And so if they don't know what rap music is, like there's people that just, essentially there's people that no matter how good your music is, if they don't like that genre, they're just not going to like it. Like if someone
Yeah.
just doesn't listen to rap, you can make the best rap song ever, and they're just going to be like, "Oh, well, it's not my style, so I don't like it." And it's
Yeah.
like that's fine. But I guess to get to your ultimate question, because I sort of answered it in a story,
Yeah. Like how you
and
give
I just had a
validity to it.
major deja vu moment. What the heck? That's so weird. I just had a
Yeah.
major deja vu moment. That's so weird. Um, when it's online, I've learned to just not respond.
Mm.
because what I realize is that if somebody's taking time out of their day, and this is the thing that Gary Vee says, if somebody's taking time out of their day to just bash my stuff and just only say negative stuff, I feel sorry for them.
Yeah, yeah, that's the best to do. It'd be like, man, even with people now, I'm like, they'll like say something that isn't funny, and I'm like,
Yeah.
are you okay? Like, are you
It's
good?
like someone must have nothing better to do. And what I take that as is if you have the courage to step out and do something,
Hmm.
then people who don't have the courage to step out and do something are going to try to pull you back down.
Oh, they'll
It's
bring you
like that
down.
that story of the monkeys climbing for the banana and they throw and then they spray them with cold water every
Yeah,
time one of the monkeys climbs. So then they just start pulling the
yeah.
monkey down
And then
every single time.
eventually it's
Then
there's
eventually
yeah,
there's no
no
it's
monkey
all new
climbs. Yeah,
monkeys.
they have no idea why, but they just keep attacking the other monkey.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
And that's the way that
Great,
society
great
works a lot of
example.
the time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And so my thought is like, well, people are just, oh, well, get a real job and oh, do this and oh, do that. And it's just like,
Where's the fun in that?
okay, it's like, okay, maybe there's some validity in that, but maybe the reason that it seems valid is because in your experience, you were too afraid to go and after this thing. And so you never had a situation where your passion could support you. But maybe it's because you didn't push it far enough. And so
Hmm.
maybe out of your fear, you decided that, hey, I'm just going to get a 9 to 5. And it's like, okay, well, maybe if you were to spend 3 more years and live below your means, maybe then you'd be able to live off of your passion. I don't know. This is just
Yeah,
hypothetical examples.
right.
But, and I don't know what the future holds for me. That's something that I continue to pray about and learn and grow and try to take steps daily to build.
Hmm.
But like in my song, I'm just getting started. It literally there's lyrics about that. Like I am not gonna live in the rat race. I refuse. And sometimes if you can't if you can't get permission, sometimes you just have to go and do it anyway and just take it
Yeah.
for yourself. And then there's even a line in there that says, if you can't wait, you may be doomed to a fate of blowing up to crash.
Mm.
Because if you're not
Hmm.
patient for your dreams, then you might just blow up. And as soon as you blow up, you have not developed the skills or the habits to be able to maintain that. And so you
Same.
just collapse under the weight of that. And I think that's what happens if somebody's chasing fast success. So that's why the better goal is not, hey, let me get to this amount of followers. It's how can I build a lifestyle that is sustainable, that includes my passion and my
Mm.
hobbies, and where I can be successful and provide for like a wife and kids, like I have a family with everything sort of in mind. And how can I take steps today out of my comfort zone to build towards that? I think that's a far better goal than, oh, I just want this album to blow up. Because like hypothetically, obviously I would love this album to blow up. I would love it to
Yeah.
have an impact. But when I pray about it and when I think about it, it's like, okay, if this goes completely viral, do I have a plan on how to handle that? Right? If
Yeah.
I have a million people watching my every move, would I actually want that?
Hmm. Yeah. What example are you gonna set?
Right? And my answer right now is I'm 19 years old. I don't know, man. Like
It's a
I like
lot.
my privacy and I don't think as much as I want the things that I talk about and the art to be viral, I don't want to be viral.
Yeah.
Like I want my privacy, I want my
Mm.
peace,
Yeah.
and that's something that I know NF like struggles with because he says like he doesn't like fame and he
Hmm.
hates fame, but yet everybody's looking at him. And I know you don't have a big background on NF, but like that guy has a massive following,
Oh yeah, I can
and
imagine.
he hates fame, and so that's something that he wrestles with, and it's like you know, I think for anybody, it's like what are you really chasing at the end of the day? And
Hmm.
for me, I'm chasing fulfillment. And, sometimes I question like how I'm approaching what I'm doing and can I be more efficient with how I make music? I think the biggest thing is what we talked about at the very beginning, which is trust.
Hmm.
And when you can trust God and trust the people around you to do their part, which means you have to have good people in your life that are actually reliable, which is, you got to be very deliberate about that, because a lot of people, oh my goodness, the reason that I
Yeah,
have trust
yeah,
issues is because people just have not been reliable to me.
yeah.
Um, but it's got better. And I think just letting go of my perfectionism and OCD will help. It's just very difficult when it comes to art, because why wouldn't I want something to be perfect? Of course, I want it
Yeah.
to be perfect. Of course, I want to spend every little second making sure that it's exactly how I want it.
Hmm.
But I can't. And realistically, even there's a few very, very minor things in the video that I wanted to go back and change. But I'm like, you know what? I got to accept it as it is,
Yeah.
because we're not opening this project back up. We've already done that like 7 times since we said we were done. So
Chris, I'm gonna roll out the red carpet for you. Um, Tell people where they can connect with you, where they can hear your stuff. Where's the best way to best and quickest way to digest everything?
best thing to do is follow me on Instagram, C period DOT period official, C dot official. There, I got broadcast channel where I give all the updates for all of my stuff. I have a link tree on my bio. Everything's going to be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, Deezer, Amazon Music, everywhere.
Yeah.
I have a Discord community, and I have TikTok, Facebook, and apparently I'm going to be getting Twitch soon. So link tree in my bio. Below all of my YouTube videos, there should be a link tree that can take you to all of those pages. The best way to listen through to this album, I think, would be probably the first listen for sure in order with headphones, where you can give it your full attention. I think that's where you'll get the most out of it. You'll get more out of it if you put more into listening.
Mm,
And I think you'll get out of it what you put into it in a weird way.
yeah.
I've never really thought that way in terms of music, but I think that's sort of the case in terms of this album. And so, yeah, the join the live listening party on Discord. All that information is in the broadcast channel that I have on Instagram. Basically, if you just send me a quick DM, say, hey, I watched this podcast. I'm a real human being. I'm going to reply. I'm not some person that's better because
Hmm.
I make music. What? So that's the best thing to do, is probably just give me a DM and I'll give you all the information. You can join my Discord. I can send you an invite, and that's
Nice.
going to be Saturday at midnight. So we're going to start at about 10:30, 11. Everybody gets together. Album drops at midnight, and we're going to listen through to it probably till about 1 a.m. And I'll probably be going live on TikTok and YouTube at other times going through the album, but that's the first real listening party. And I'm going to be trying to have, well, I already have a few people secured, from producers that have helped me on the album, editors, engineers, people who helped filming the video. So there's stories from behind the scenes that will be shared, and it's going to be a good, fun time. And I would just love to have you guys be a part of the community, the More Than Music community. If you care about, yourself and the world, and you see the direction that the world is heading in terms of how certain things are going in a negative direction, then I would say listen to this music and reach out. And if you have any thoughts, ideas, let me know. I'm trying to help people grow. I'm trying to just build a community. We all help each other,
Hmm.
right? Like we're gonna, if you have a resource that could be beneficial to me, you'll share it. And if I have something that could be beneficial to you, or if I see a
Yeah.
video like, oh, this is how to improve your podcasting, then
Nice.
I'll send that to you,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like at the end of the day, we're all in this together, and it's life is something that everybody experiences. And
Hmm.
so we can all relate on something. And I really stand by that. There's so much division and controversy in the world, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we all have our own struggles and difficulties. So we all have something to relate on. And yeah.
Chris, dude, I'm very excited to see the growth, and I'm very excited to see, especially if you're starting off where you are and only been a couple of years into it. I'm super happy you're able to share time with me today, able to share your time and your album and stuff like that with everybody. And I cannot wait to see what you make of it, how it does. I'm excited to share it when it drops. I'm excited to share this episode after the album drops. As another thing, I'm excited to clip it. I'll put links and stuff for you as well below. So yeah, dude, I'm grateful you're able to share your time with me today. So thank you very much for doing the show, brother.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I
Right on.
appreciate the free open dialogue. I know I've ranted here and there quite a bit. Sometimes I got scatterbrain, but